recording, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're going to open the meeting. Today is February 28th, 2023, 6 p.m. We're going to now enter into the Charlton Board of Health meeting. First item on the agenda is to accept the prior minutes for January 31st, 2023.
I'll make a motion, we accept the prior meeting minutes from January 31st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next line item is new business, and we have a meet and greet with Tim's Rubbish Removal. So just a backstory. Tim, thanks, welcome.
Thank you.
For coming. Backstory, I ran into Tim, and I've seen him on the road, and I see his trucks and all that. And we were chatting, and I said, you know, down the road, this town's going to be looking for someone to provide some dumpsters and some rubbish removal for the municipality, and I don't know if it does the schools or whatnot. I said, but, you know, are you equipped? Do you have any interest in that? Do you want us to let you know, like, if the bid goes out and be a part of that and all that? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, well, maybe if you wanted to come to the board and just introduce yourself and say hi, and maybe what we can do as a board is, if the town's actively pursuing trash haulers, at least make sure he's involved in that bid process, so he gets a fair stab at seeing what he needs for equipment and who, you know, what places need equipment and all that. So thanks for coming, and if you want to just tell us a little bit about your business and what you do, it'd be great.
Yeah, so my name's Tim Pager. I live here in town. I grew up here in town. This is my wife, Elizabeth. She also grew up here in town. We started our business in 2020, just doing dumpsters and junk removal stuff. We expanded the end of 2020 into residential trash. We actually just purchased our fourth truck for our business, which is what is equipped to do like commercial trash and dumpsters like that. And may or may not have seen it en route already, the big white one. Yeah, I mean, we've just been steadily growing in town here, and it's really all I got. I mean, it's been good.
How many customers do you have now, do you know, roughly?
So the end of February is 398 customers. We just added, was it 40 customers for
yeah.
March,
So
and
we're
then
about
we have people
440.
coming in April as well.
That's why you had to get the new bins. That's why I had
Yes.
to wait for your service.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's good. And is it just Charlton that you're doing, or are you doing surrounding towns as well?
It's just Charlton for
Okay.
residential trash. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so there was a deal back in the day the town had made with Casella, and there was, it had something to do with the landfill and the recycling center and all that. Well, that in part of the, it was a big deal, and negotiations went on for a long time on that, but that was to end, and I believe it's this year, Jim?
November 30th.
November 30th this year. So the Board of Health doesn't have, it's not, although, like, say, we would give you a license to operate in the town, things like that, we would never be the one to pick the trash hauler for the town. That's not what this is, and this is not what this board does. But we do know that this is coming. We do know it's a need, and just, you know, communicating to your company, to our board, that this is coming up in the future. And if you knew, like, hey, you needed so many dumpsters for the school, so many dumpsters for this, if you knew about it ahead of time and got geared up for November, and then you know, it might work out for you. I might not if you get the job, but all I'm saying is it'd be better for you guys to know ahead of time what the requirement's going to be, so you can
Right.
figure out, hey, yeah, we want to do this or we don't want to do that.
Right.
Then going into it in November and saying, okay, we just got a contract, we got to get some dumpsters or whatever the case may be. You know, so I do believe the town administrator, Jim, is handling that.
I think he, if I may, Mr. Chairman, he believe he's working with the selectmen on that process, because you have to get moving on it, because things are going to end, like the household hazardous waste day, the drop-off point in Oxford, where people can go on Saturday to drop off 3 bags of trash. That's going to end.
So is there a way, and I'm not suggesting a recommendation, that's not what I'm suggesting, but is there a way to get to the selectman or the town administrator to say, hey, this company has interest when the time comes, can we make sure that they're a part of that bid process? Is there a way to do that?
I think he's probably gonna be interested in taking and listening to anyone. It's a competitive bid. It is taxpayer money that's gonna be used to pay for this, so
Right.
I'm sure that, I'm not sure his process. All I know is that he's working on it. And that would go out for everyone, I think, to get an input in. But I'm not sure where he is in the process.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I don't know, like, does the town, does Andrew, whoever's gonna do that scope of work, realize this company exists or the next company or whatnot? That's why I'm,
Yeah, he got a list. We have the list of all the haulers. All their customers are here. We have all their customers. Someone did send a Freedom of Information request for how much tons of trash. We really don't know because we can't really quantify. Like you just do Charlton, so all your trash would be weighed and would be Charlton, but other trucks come from many other towns. So when they go to get weighed, that's not a true tonnage. So for me to determine how much tonnage of trash comes out from every household is very difficult. So I told them that was undeterminable, and they said, well, how come you don't know? It's because it's not a known number. Now, the dumpsters that are a certain place are a different thing because those are weighed and done. We could get a quantifiable number on that, but on far as each household and who they choose to, Tim's, I see more and more of your like on Berlin Game Road, and I rode by Nelson's and stuff, and they change, and we have probably, I think we have 5 or 6 haulers, and a guy from Leicester just applied, and he is starting a business in Charlton too. So that just happened. But I think in order to do a competitive bid, you'd have to know what services, how many dumpsters you would need, what place,
Right.
how big they would be, the time of pickup, so that in order to give a competitive bid, you'd have to know the scope of work, and I think that's something that you could request.
yeah. So, that's coming pretty quick. November will be here sooner than later. So, know it's coming. And I did not know the process, so it sounds like when it comes time for the bids, you guys will be part of that bid package if that list comes from this office and you're already a hauler in this town. So then automatically they would, I would assume you would get a shot to bid at it, So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to be a licensed hauler to, I mean, it's Tim to, and we license the people through the office, so. I remember when Tim started, it was a process, he had to call the DEP, and it was a bunch of paperwork, start a business, so, but look where he is now, so.
Great. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it
Do
too.
you- do you have something to say? Or?
No, I was just going to see if anybody had any questions for us.
John?
No, I don't think
I was just
so.
going to ask, what's the process to get established with you as the hauler? Is there a time lag, or is it pretty? You'd accept the customers pretty quickly, or?
We do it as quickly as we can. The one issue we do run into a little bit is there is a lot of interest, so we do run out of bins. We'll get them 300 at a time, but really that only sets us up for about 150 customers because we run a true recycling program. We don't mix recycling. That's why we picked up a second truck, so we can run 2 separate routes and get a full day out of it. So,
Okay.
but like right now we have some in stock. It all kind of depends on when you catch us.
Got it.
Cool.
See a potential customer there.
It's been on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Well, I signed up. I don't know, what was
Just
it?
call me,
about-
I'll be there.
Yeah, about
she
6
runs
weeks
our
ago.
office, so.
I think it was maybe 6 weeks tops until you got the new bins. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Sometimes with our vendors, sometimes they can get them in 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes it's 2 months. We're,
I have a question, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I made to Tim. So if someone had their own bin, could they still contract with you until they received your bin, or does it have to be your bin?
we generally like it to be our bin because we want our name on it. So if there's ever an issue and it's
Yep.
something you have to take care of, you can see, hey, this bin belongs to Tim.
Yeah, they all have to be labeled, so they do
Yeah.
all identifiable.
Makes
A lot of them blow down the street, so.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that if that happened with you guys, you actually get out of the truck and we'll pick up that bag and.
We try to.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So. Which is great, and that's what this town's trying to do, is keep it as clean as we can.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's also my name on the side of the truck too.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it, and good luck in November. If see.
I'll keep all the haulers updated. I'll talk to Andrew, and if there is request for services that goes out, I will make sure you get a copy.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we find out in the meantime, like what the scope of work is, I don't know if we're talking 2 dumpsters, a
Yeah,
full.
I don't really know. It depends with the school, if they're gonna determine their own, or if Andrew's just gonna, contract for one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's-
I'm not
I
sure
mean,
where he's
there's
at.
this building, there's probably highway, there's probably full dresser, I mean, there's probably the
Plus
library.
highway
there's
has a
3
dumpster
schools.
Highway has a dumpster just for stuff they pick up on the side of the road too.
Yeah,
So.
so there's probably some work there, so.
And then we have special things like Earth Day that the provider used to provide it for free.
Mhm.
That we're gonna have to talk about that too, because there are special events that we need a dumpster. We try and keep Charlton clean. We have a committee that goes around and
Old Home Day.
Old Home Day, and other events. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's included in that request for a bid.
Hmm.
So
Awesome, well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Now-
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
Now we know.
Tim, I finally met the boss.
Yes.
That's a real boss right there.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Nice meeting you.
Me too.
Okay, next item up is Oxbow Variety hearing regarding tobacco violation, back in December 2022. Is there anybody here? Would you like to come up?
Yeah, sure.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So you are the business owner,
Well, you could say manager.
manager?
Owner is my sister-in-law
Okay,
because I could only have 1 license in town.
I got you.
The other license is on my wife.
Okay,
The 3rd license is on my sister-in-law.
okay,
So I'm the manager.
okay, I understand that.
She has 2 stores in Sarbit, so I kind of help her out over here too.
All right. We've kind of been looking into this. I personally have been. I know we reached out to the Leominster Tobacco Coalition. And that representative was not able to be here tonight. And that was, I kind of had some questions as far as how this thing was conducted, I guess.
Yes.
And if, so in talking with Mr. Philbrook, he was explaining that they have is it a computer or something in the car that tracks that team?
Their tablet, they follow the federal guidelines. I mean, she is available by phone. I know I discussed it with you if you'd like, but she had cancer treatment today, so she's available to discuss it. But they follow the federal guidelines because they have a child with them that's underage, basically, so they're strict. You have to know where you are at all times. You can't deviate from where you're going. So it'll tell you exactly where you are, and she gave the coordinates and stuff in the paperwork, where they were and how long they were there, and off to, because they do about 50, 60 stores in that one night, so there's quite a few. So, but that has to be documented, because that's why you asked me, can I do a sting? No, because there's a certain things they have to do, and they take an honor student from the school, he gets paid, it's registered, the parents have to agree to it, there's a lot of other stuff, and they're federally funded, so their tablet is actually, the person that comes in, it was a gentleman with that person, that it documents how long they're at the place they're at and when they leave, so it's constantly, wherever they go, they know, and it's time stamped and it's printed out. That's according to Joan, who is the chairman of and head of the coalition, Leominster Tobacco Coalition, who is Southbridge, Sturbridge, Oxford, Dudley. I think there's 25, 30 towns, and I believe she listed them all in the paperwork here. And they're through funding. So remember, each town they work for, they're actually agents. They work as agents but not in the field, because they work under the autonomous board. They work for you to go out and do tobacco, and they're only rewarded and funded for compliance. Non-compliance they don't get paid for. The tickets come to the town, but that affects how they get money. So if someone's in violation, they're not paid and reimbursed for that. Only for someone who's in compliance
And then
through the grant.
the town where the non-compliance was issued, they're the ones that received that fund.
Yeah, we received it from Mass Pike West, Montella, the Gulf Mart there, sold to underage. They took their 3-day suspension, and the $1,000 check was received and processed through this office.
Well,
Goes into the general fund.
please.
And the way I understand it is, we can't go below the state. We could only be, the state's minimum is 1,000. It
Yes.
could be 1,250, and they could get fined 1,250.
Yeah.
But we can't go below that 1,000. That's out of our purview. It's set by the state. The only place I saw that we had any say was the 1 to 30 day suspension of sales. If I've read it correctly.
I think the recommendation was also 3 days, is that right, Jim? I
3.
read that earlier. today.
Yeah, they're recommending only 3, but Pete, if I may, Mr. Chairman, you're absolutely right. Because the governor declared and he trumped, because Charlton was proactive in the beginning. I think we started working with Cheryl, develop our own, and we went line by line on each thing and what it would be. And our fines were 100, 200, and I think 500 was the max. But then Governor Baker said, hang on, and he just wiped all that out and went status quo, and he set the precedent. So now that's the state minimum, like you said. So it has to be 1,000. We can't go we could go more if the town decided, but we can't go less.
So my issue is we have a third party going out and doing multiple stings in a night and then notifying of the sting weeks later. I just don't think there's enough probable cause. I think it's a he said, she said. Not saying it didn't happen or it did happen. I just don't think there's enough tangible proof for me to sit here and say, yeah, we're going forward with the fine. I disagree with it. I disagree with the method. And as long as it's coming before this board and I'm sitting here, I'm not agreeing to the fines.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, she did inform me that if we decide not to, that the Attorney General's office will be contacted, because she has to put this through the system, that the board chose not to issue the fine, and the Attorney General will contact this office in the town, and then they will still enact the fine to them. So it's going to happen either way. And then the fine would go elsewhere and not to the municipality. So if you're going to do that, be aware that somewhere down the line, the Attorney General is going to contact through a letter to this office, I think that's, and say that you defied an order by the governor and you didn't have that authority.
Yeah, so I'm not, in my thought, and this is a board here, so I'm not speaking for either of these two guys. I'm not defying an order from the governor. I don't think there's enough tangible proof to say that this incident happened. If it was a smoking gun and there was cameras or something that was more tangible, okay. I just don't see the smoking gun there. 50, 60 stings a night, multiple towns. There was a pack of jewels that wasn't even a store or something, wasn't even the right store. I mean, there's just too many. Are you sure that was me? And then not being able to allow the store owner to go back and witness it on his own cameras because they get something in the mail weeks later. I just don't think that system is right. So,
For the record, I did speak to Global Montello, and they said, yes, we checked, it was us, we made a mistake, we took the penalty and we paid for it.
right.
At the same night that occurred with them.
Right.
So I don't understand the mistrust. I mean, they're not out there trying to do the wrong thing, they're out there to make sure that, I like all these guys, but you can't sell to minors. There's a machine.
Right.
The other, Global Montello paid the $1,000, admitted they saw the person do it, and went forward. And the stings, I don't know about the stings. They don't tell me. They just come out and they do them. But they do a lot in one night because it's very difficult to get that person, get that all in line, and that's what they do. But that's the law. That's
Pete?
I did read somewhere that that within the procedure, they were in compliance because they have 30 days from the operation to issue. So I don't know if that's a point for future reference, because I remember you said you guys record for 2 weeks. I mean, maybe that's something you have
9 days.
Or-
I checked exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's something that, you know, now that you know that they have 30 days, that you look into, you know, a 30-day system. I don't know, but if that's the rules, or if that's the law, or that's what they have, won't be the last time we probably encounter something like this. If they're going in and they're granted 30 days and you only record 9 days, then we're gonna, you know, be there again.
Right. So I still think that the method in which it is done is he said, she said. And maybe the other incident that night, it happened and it was recorded and they verified it and they moved forward with it. But in this instance with this situation, he wasn't able to go back, or they weren't able to go back and look at the cameras and verify it. And I'm not saying it's bogus, I'm saying it has the potential to be bogus. And that's how I feel about it.
Madam Chairman, I just think that you're the board, you have the right to do anything you want, but I'm only giving you guidance from a long conversation today. You're gonna set a precedence now that anyone who gets a fine, that they can come to this board and dispute that the same thing that we just talked about, and you're gonna have to follow that. So,
Right.
it's precedent setting.
Mhm.
I don't make that decision. I think the fine is a lot of money. The next one's 2 and then 5,000. I think it's a lot of money, and I don't agree, but the governor makes it. Every town, it's not a Charlton bylaw. It's a state minimum standard, and it's enforced through every municipality. So I just think that people did pay, and they agreed on the same night. I think that you just have to be careful. You have to check everyone's ID. If you don't look 80 like me, and you don't go in there, then
If I
you
may say
check
something,
IDs.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
So, at Oxbow, I have a system in the POS system. I cannot go any further without, if I sell cigarette or alcohol, I cannot go any further on the system without getting somebody's date of birth in the system, scan their ID. So, I don't know how it happened, like, you know what I'm trying to say? That if it was sold by minor to minor, it was not possible. They had to scan the ID, what do you call it, the ID checker, if anybody else buys a cigarette or alcohol. So,
You had that at this
yeah,
particular
at
store?
Oxbow, I have it over here. I have all my location. Second thing, I just want to mention, whatever guys you decide, I totally agree. But that's something, whatever in future reference, at Oxbow, I had a stink in, what do you call it, for alcohol. So the person that did the stink sent somebody, okay? And my employee by mistake sold a can of beer. So what happened is the people that were from the car, that in the car from the state, they came in, they showed their badge. Look, I'm from the state, you sold this to a particular person. He's not a minor because he's 18, you know? Because, you know, I mean, he cannot buy stuff, but he's still over 18. He could, and you know, he actually came in with the person and said, you sold it to him, here's the product. And you know, we're giving a hearing whenever it is. We did a Zoom hearing, we got a warning, and you know, we went from there. But I believe that's how, if I'm requesting them to do it like that systematically, like do it like that, you know, if you want to do it. I don't want, like, now she works for me, he works over there, his wife was working over there. Now on the paper I read, they say put female and they put adult. Now whom should I consider adult?
Right.
Because her wife is 37 years old, she's considered adult.
Oh, yeah.
She's adult. I have another guy that was working over there, but they didn't mention guy, but that's what I was asking, I was telling. So if we could do it like that, you know, they put down the name too, who sold it, my person that sold it, he had to be at the meeting. You know, so he sold it like that.
This is the summary of the sting.
Yeah, I saw
That's what
this
she
last
sent
time.
today. So, and actually, I'm going to give you a copy of it.
Oh, sure.
So you may
Thank you,
have a-
Jim.
so you have a copy.
No
Okay.
problem.
Pete, do you want to look at it?
Yeah.
John? You got yours?
I printed
Okay.
one of my own. I don't know if I got that. That's all right, I read it all, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot there. Believe me, it took me a
Yeah.
while to.
So their iPad, if I can talk while you're reading, their iPad logs the coordinates of their location and sets the time of inspection by satellite. And the inspector records the information as it is revealed in the inspection. So this alliance is funded by the Department of Public Health.
Yeah, it's through a grant program. Yep.
And I know on the other paperwork, I don't
So
have
is
it on
this,
this.
I just had a question for
You're gonna go through the chair.
Mr. Chairman. So this thing that they do, are they from the state or are they a company?
I believe it's through a third-party Leominster Coalition. Tobacco
They're all
Control.
health agents, sanitarians.
But they're a company or they're work for the state?
No, they're a grant through the state,
Yeah.
but they're health agents.
Okay.
Health directors.
So, but
Certified
it's not a
health
company
officers.
though, right?
No, it's not a
It's not a
company.
company, okay.
The only thing they do is it allows them to get an underage student and someone be in the car with them because they monitor that and
Okay.
it's something, so that's federally monitored.
Okay.
But the grant comes through, and that's a grant that was issued to them and that's what they do and they hire
Right.
people. Tobacco money, there's a lot of it out there for these stings.
Yeah, I understand.
But now
yeah.
there's also marijuana
is-
places on every
See,
corner that.
the only thing is that I've been doing business 13 years in this town, and this is the first time I see something like that. You know, because usually whenever they did it from the town, they did it from the town, the stings and everything. Now they send this to a different party, and now I'm having a problem. You know, like with both stores, which I don't want to mention right now about the other store, but like this is what I'm, going through. So it's mine too, because like I want to know that even if they sold it, say they sold it, and it was a big mistake, yes, I'm ready to pay the fine and everything. But I just, as being a businessman or whatever, I have a right to know who sold it.
Yeah, you do.
Or even like, the person that came in, I bought her because she was working at that night too, to recognize if that person came in or not. So
Right.
I just want to know that I should have a right, thing that, a procedure basically. What I'm trying to say is to like, whoever sells that, right? I just request them to come in and please get the name of my employees, get the info. I'm all in for it. They could come in, they could do. They've been doing a lot of stings. So recently, ever since we sent it to the third company, like I saw stings 3 times a month. And so what happens is when they stink comes in, I could just tell because they bring in really small money. So, but I'm just saying, like, if they could just come in and let us know that this particular person sold it, just like the ABC does it, that'll be real helpful for us businessmen.
I think that's how this town used to do it.
Right, exactly. And this is like after 11 years. this is the first-
We as a town have never conducted a sting, meaning myself as the director or the inspector. It was through the Worcester Coalition, Tobacco Coalition, which we remember for many years. Then Worcester decided to opt out of it. And then all the laws changed according to the Executive Board of DPH. This is not something that's made up by the Leominster Coalition. This is standardized across the state.
Sir?
In the Leominster, they give to the contract, the government give them a contract to the Leominster, and they didn't even know the lot of things about the law. They don't know which stuff is illegal and what stuff is not legal. And they come down in a store and they say that it's illegal and they send you the ticket, and the peoples don't know about it, and they just come down in a store in the town and they pay the fine. Like my brother just did it. He got a ticket, he came down over here, he gave $1,000. But that product was 100% legal.
Legal for selling.
Selling the-
I have letters and everything from the company and the main company from ITG that product is.
It's
And
illegal
then I
to sell
checked.
in Massachusetts. So go ahead.
Then I checked on the with my salesman and everybody. I was like, "Are you particularly selling?" Because I see it in the system that I could order this. He was like, "Yeah." So I asked, "Can you give me proof from from the main companies like RJ Reynolds and everybody that this particular item, or from Core-Mark, to give me a statement or anything, proof that we sell this product?" And they actually told me that this is a regular product. Then why are you getting fined for this? You could just buy it. So I said like, all right, so your company is all over New England, right? So I could order stuff like whatever, like flavored stuff from you. And it's like, no, we are blocked. Your Massachusetts state is blocked for whatever flavored thing is from our company because You guys, if we sell it to you, we are in big trouble. So practically, we have to take out everything from Massachusetts. So there is no way I could order that stuff,
Right.
any kind of flavor, you know. But that flavor that was shown in the picture, that's a legal product to sell.
Mr. Chairman, not in Charlton. Our regulations are more strict.
We're more
Even they
strict.
are regular by the Massachusetts.
Our regulations are more strict in Massachusetts. You know, you guys voted for it and signed it. No flavored tobacco, no flavored cigars, period. And that was a flavored cigar.
And this thing here.
Yep.
Well, anyways, we kicked this can up and down the table here a few times. So here's my suggestion between the two board members, and if there's more discussion on it, we can discuss it. But I say we make a motion. Well, I'm going to make a motion to throw this whole thing out because I don't think there's enough proof in the method and how it was conducted. If that goes through, it's over. There's no fine. We get calls from the Attorney General. We deal with that then. If that method does not go through and the vote doesn't throw it out, maybe we take a vote to reduce the 3-day loss of tobacco license to the alleged minimum 1 day. So I'm just throwing that on the table for you two to think about, if to just take that into consideration. So I am going to make a motion that that there's not enough evidence to go forward with fining of $1,000 on the first offense. I don't think there's enough information to actually prove that this was conducted at that store. So I'm going to make a motion. If it's seconded, then we vote on it. Is there a second? Okay, so there's no second on that. So the next motion would be to reduce, to enact the $1,000 fine, but to reduce the loss of tobacco sales from 3-day to 1 day. Is there a motion to put that on the table?
I'll make a motion to reduce the suspension of sales from 3 days to 1 day.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
Can I just add one thing? I think somewhere in the paperwork that I got from the Alliance out of Leominster, I believe that the reason you had said, wouldn't it be nice if they could come in right after that so we know, hey, this was the clerk who did it, or, you know, that's when you can, I hate to say argue the case, but this is a legal product, here's the letter from the manufacturer that says this is legal in Massachusetts and so forth. I believe that in some of the paperwork that I've seen over the past few days and weeks, the coalition, whoever does the stings, either they had a bad experience previously, or for whatever reason they don't want to get into a confrontation with store owner, manager, clerk, whoever, and that's why I agree with you. I don't think they should. In this case, it was the occurrence occurred December 23rd, and you did not get the.
No, this was underage. You're talking about flavored.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean,
No, all right, but on this one,
Sorry.
the violation wasn't prepared and issued until January 10th. I agree. I think that's 17, 18 days, something like that. And if your cameras only hold in memory the video for so long, it's very difficult to try to figure
Right.
out what happened, what did or didn't happen. I am in agreement with that. I just wanted to state that for the record.
I want to I agree with that too, but the 30 days, we didn't set the 30 days. That's,
Right.
That's
Yep.
the day that's set. My only other question was, they listed a number of five times where they delivered educational records or educational materials on those, where different people signed for them. Are those getting to you guys, or are those just going to whoever's there and they're tossing them? 'Cause that's-
what the
It's in the packet. It just says On
Retail education.
Oh, yes, I know you what you're talking about. Danny told me, I'm sorry, chief of police told me to make sure I have those on my,
Yeah.
I have it all 3 stores. I have all the under 21 flavored, nothing. They actually send me the package.
Okay.
They come in, they check that if I have it hanged up or not, which I have it at all the locations.
We checked that during inspection.
Yes, you do too.
He has it posted.
For the record, I'm just a person in town. I disagree with this whole protocol. I don't want to see you selling tobacco to minors or selling products you're not supposed to, but I think this is a bunch of BS. I disagree with it the whole way, and if it was up to me, I'd throw it right out the window. You look up Mass General Law on the computer, and it says 100, 200, 300. Okay, so why can't they at least correct that with the state? So I disagree with this whole thing, and I'm sorry you have to pay that fine. If it was up to me, you wouldn't be paying it.
That's fine. That's okay. And I just wanted to issue, what do you call, that matter that happened about the flavor, if it's okay for right now, or I could talk later.
I'm okay with it. Sean, Pete, you okay? Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So, like talking, you said, Mr. Chairman, BS. This is the fine I got from the same company, well, not company, the state. The same people, Leominster. They sent me that I sell that product, okay, Blue Dream, which is legal to sell.
It is legal.
It is legal. I got all the emails from the company and everybody. Like you said, they're not experienced, you know, sometimes. That is not my counter. This is not my counter.
Right.
And I think
This is not my store.
This was brought up before, though. They use a
I
stock.
did before I went to India. I
stock
said I'm going to
photo.
pay the $1,000 fee. I don't want to lose my
Right.
license, but I'm going to mention that to the board.
Right.
That what is this?
It's a stock photo. I think
What is
that's what they
this?
do. That's
It's
what they-
ridiculous.
Yeah.
In the
It's not
Sting-
even my store.
The Sting, the Coalition, I think they ought to get their acts together, because I disagree with it. And
If you could mention them, I paid already $1,000 for this. Why am I paying left and right? I mean, I'm a hardworking person. I'll be honest with you guys. I've been 13 years. I've been doing business, and this is the first time I'm dealing with something like that. You know?
Maybe the thing to do is to put body cameras on these.
Yeah. Well, that's a really
just
good
say, here
idea.
you go.
Like I said,
It
you
would have
could
the
just give
name,
me a
date,
proof that who
phone,
sold it.
Here's the,
I don't
here's the
mind.
money, here's my,
I love Charlton. I'm building a house in Charlton, but I want everybody. Can I have 2 daughters? I don't want to sell anybody to minors, but I want something that happens. I want it to be legit.
Right.
That's what I'm asking for.
Yeah. I wish I could help you with it.
No, I totally understand, but like, you know, I'm just saying if you could request them, like, look, you guys are doing like Mickey Mouse stuff. You got to have to be, you know, really, really particular about this stuff, you
I
know.
was willing to throw it out and let
Right,
the Attorney
exactly.
General have
But
a
I do not
conversation.
want to argue with my town
No,
and
I
everything.
know.
I love my town. I do, but I just wanted to make sure that, you know, if we're doing this, you know, I want to get it done properly, you know, so I could conduct my business properly. If she sold it, I have to let her go, you know. But now I'm confused who sold it.
Right.
So whom to fire, whom not to. So I'm just paying the state like thousands of dollars
Yeah.
for not having evidence enough.
That
And
may-
I don't want to fight with the state and everything. I don't have time because I
Might
believe
sit
like
down.
I'd rather just pay the fine and get over it and just start doing my business,
Right.
being more careful and everything.
But then what's next? What's next? What's next?
Exactly. I love. I believe in moving on. You know, that's it. I don't mind paying the fine and everything, but I just request to be legit. That's all.
I don't think it's right, and I also don't think that I'm the appeal board, and I have nothing to do with any of it, but you have to appeal somebody else's action between me. I think if that's the case, I should have the right to throw the whole thing out.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. And then it gets back to the Attorney General, no matter what I say about it. Why even get me involved? Keep me right out of it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I appreciate that.
So, I feel bad for you.
No, it's okay. I understand. You know, but
I run
that's
a
fine. You know, I mean.
I run a business in this town too. I get pulled over from Mass DOT police. And
Yeah.
I get tickets all the time, and I don't
Me
like
too.
any of them. You know, I don't like any of them, and that's a different battle for a different day. And but sometimes right is right and wrong is wrong. And
I absolutely
don't-
agree.
And I don't think this is right. And
I have a
apologize.
customer. I'll give you an example. I have a customer who's a state trooper, comes here for 7 years. He gave me a ticket. He buys product from me every day, but he gave me a ticket. He knows me pretty good, but that's right. You know, but that's what I'm all asking, that if we do it next time, just if I could have it legit.
I don't think we can help you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything we can do to solve that problem.
Right.
Except tell the coalition, hey, we disagree with it.
Right.
Again, I didn't agree with it, but there's nothing I can do.
And, I mean, it's not just limited to this. From my experience, my transponder battery died. I went through New Jersey. I got tickets all the way down the near.
Right, yeah.
And there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do, absolutely.
I had my transponder. The battery was dead.
I didn't know it had a battery, I better check it.
Well, then,
Yeah.
if you go to Auburn, to have it checked, the last time I looked, which was in the last 6 months, they have a sign on the door that says,
appointment.
you need an appointment to
Right.
show up. So guess what? I've got 4 transponders. What are we gonna do? Pull them out of the car, then
Yeah.
take time off and drive 10 miles to have them go check it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, hopefully nobody loses their job over this.
Well, I hope.
You know?
Well, not even just like, you know, even if they sold it, but I have to explain them, you know. I just not going to fire them, but I have to explain them, this cannot happen, you know. Because if they're with you for years, she's with me for 8 years, you know. If she made a mistake, I would have given her a warning or anything, you know. But if somebody was new behind the counter, I would have, you know,
Right.
had to let her know that, look, I'm paying $1,000 for you.
Yeah, and those machines that you have that check the IDs.
Yep.
So it stops right there, and as long as the ID clears as far as the age goes,
Right.
then you can move.
Then
forward.
you can move forward.
So what do you think happened in this case? Nobody used the ID if they did it? Who
I have
knows?
no idea.
And you couldn't know.
If
you can't
I
go back
if I
and-
could just if they would have just informed me in a week, I would have just do it right
all that
away.
all that night.
All that night, you know.
Well, sorry about that. I wish
No
I could
problem.
help you.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah. And oh yeah, I had a question. What day should I keep it closed? Sunday works for me.
Sunday. Works for me.
I don't know if it's under our, I'll call, Joan was waiting for a call, but I think it's up to them.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I was just putting in. I was trying to save some money, but you know.
If we can, I'll ask her that the board,
Sunday's slow.
what would the board want me to say to her?
Recommend the Sunday.
Yeah.
I will ask her to, the board voted for some, under their authority, for Sunday to be on one day only, and would like it to be Sunday.
And if you could notify us the day it's going to be closed,
Absolutely.
and then if
No, okay, yeah. Notify James or.
you can notify Jim.
Okay.
it'd be
Yeah, and
great.
I'll notify,
I
and
will leave you a message.
I'll let the board know. And I will express that the board wants it on a Sunday, okay?
Okay.
And you can also express to them that we're gonna keep going through this as long as that system remains that way. I disagree with it, so as long as I'm on this board, it's not gonna work out great for the whole
Unfortunately,
process.
I don't agree with the whole thing, but it's statewide, so
Yep, I hear
it's
you.
not like it's just to Charlton. It's, every town has an issue with it, but the governor took a strict, he didn't want sale to minors, so unfortunately, it took a lot of the, it goes to the tobacco alliance, which in my opinion, they do a good job, because we don't want sale of cigarettes to minors. We don't
No,
want
I
kids to
agree
start
with that.
smoking and vaping and doing all that stuff.
I
So,
agree with that. I think there's a better method to let the store owners know when something.
yeah, I
went
think they
wrong.
just do it in such a large capacity, and there's so many that, and they don't want confrontation in the store, and that they used to have a police officer, and they would go back in.
Right.
But that got costly, because they used to go in with the police, state
You're
trooper
right.
would be
yeah.
outside.
Yep, exactly.
And they changed that.
And
'cause
that's
the
how I
police-
feel. There could be confusion on who stung what at what time with what
Correct.
clerk and all that. And I think
Absolutely.
that's where there could be
And it's
confusion.
tough to identify, and you don't want to start accusing staff if they didn't do
No,
anything wrong.
absolutely.
Like I said, I don't think it's bogus. I think it could be bogus, is how I said it. So, anyways,
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for your time.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you,
James,
guys.
thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
okay. On the old business, we have Mass Pike West. I know we kind of ended that conversation, and we can eliminate it. Jim, I know you said last time they had done some pretty extensive cleaning on the outside of that.
That, yeah, they took the bull by the horns, and the person who really had authority called me and stepped forward and said that there was a little bit of don't call me, and I said, listen, I don't work that way. I work directly with the person. It's up to you to notify your supervisor. I don't go to the top. I answer to my chair, and I answer to a board. But if you're the manager at the store, I don't call the owner unless we have an issue. It's up to you as the manager of the PIC to be knowledgeable upon my inspection of what the proper procedures and to do. The person, that angel that was here, is running Fresh City. Now, I'm in Orlando and I saw a Fresh City. So Matt, I told my wife, come here. We're going over here. She goes, no, we're not. I said, yes, I want to go look. I just want to look. Now, they all had hair nets on, they all had gloves, and everything looked, they were constantly at temperature meters and everything. Run that, and it looked very, very organized. So I don't think that it's all, I think, to my opinion, it's management, improper management, and that affected that store, because this Fresh City looked beautiful.
So, the latest and the greatest update with that situation, though, as far as Mass Pike West, not the individual store on the inside,
Yeah.
but the outside is
Outside.
much better.
He personally took the bull by the horns, but Matt, that is something, as you know, needs to be done on a weekly or daily basis, because if you went a month, you'd be right back to square one there. They did take all that stuff out and do it, but he's taken more of a proactive response, because the McDonald's Corporation does not want a bad name.
Okay.
So,
All right, great. Any other discussion on the Mass Pikes?
No, just kudos to Jim and the department folks here who have been badgering them to,
well, I appreciate the board standing by me. When I close someone, it's a difficult decision to make, to close someone, especially on a Mass Pike, where there's hundreds and hundreds of people that go in. But when it totally is going to affect public health and safety, I have no choice. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for.
Okay, let's move on to the next discussion, which will be Flint Road landfill. Really, we're still at the infant stages of talking about the landfill, 2 to 3 years out on this thing. And last time we got on the phone specifically with Mary Jude Pigsley about the PFAS, and that we're going to have to be testing that. And Gary he owes DEP a letter, and basically he needs to tell DEP the board will be testing for PFAS, which is what the DEP wants to hear. No, the board is not testing for PFAS, but will be testing at the next interval or the interval after that, or at some point. They're looking for an answer to the PFAS question. When will you be testing it? I don't believe they've asked us in writing for that, but I was certainly on the phone, and they certainly want to see the PFAS testing. So, in our conversation as a board, one of the first thing we did was we sent a letter out to the residents. The letters went out, Jim? Is that accurate?
The girls, I was away, but the girls got the letters out. Gary formulated the letter. The girls tweaked it a little to make sure everything looked good, but Gary did formulate the letter.
Okay, so we had a meeting. Our board approved the letter. The letter went out to the residents that that the board, as well as Gary and the team, felt were the right number of people to get those letters for that landfill. So now we as a board have to kind of give Gary an answer, like, what are we doing? Are we going to do PFAS testing for the next quarterly round of testing, which is quarter 3?
I think it's quarter 3. I just did the EDP filing where that was for 4 Dresser Hill Road. I think he's waiting, and this may be quarter.
Could be 1 or 2, actually.
It could be 2, I believe.
It could be 2.
But I think they gave him 120 or 90 days.
I think that they said 90, and then I think Gary said 120, and regardless, the clock's ticking.
The clock's ticking, and it's up to the board, and we did put it in the budget for requests for the funding for that, with
For-
anticipation of
for
doing PFAS
next
testing.
year, fiscal year,
Yes,
not this year.
which it's weird because our fiscal year starts June. It would be 2024 budget in June.
July 1st.
Yeah, at June 30th, July 1st starts the new fiscal budget.
So
of
we,
this year?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we would have funding for PFAS specifically starting, I think it's July 1. But how much money did we allocate towards that? Is it like line items for a dollar value?
I think it's $100,000 that we put out there.
But And still that has to go to a town vote and that has to get approved, or is that already
No.
set aside?
What happened was they've laid off on some of the testing, so we do have some money now that we could use because the annual testing has been reduced because of there's non-detects.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have money in our fund, but like I told you, the finance director said, we're trying to develop a FAM because DEP asked us in third-party testing, what do you have for a FAM? I have to give them a number.
Right.
But at the end of the fiscal year, that money, as far as when April, I think it's April, before April 15th, that money goes back into the general fund. And then it's reallocated. So that's the way it has to happen.
And that FAM, that basically gets decided and agreed upon with DEP. Like we present, hey, we're gonna give you a FAM of $1 million or $2 million or whatever that dollar value is. That has to get approved from DEP. If there's not enough money in the kitty, they say no.
Well, basically, if I may, Mr. Chairman, when we have a third-party one that actually checks on Gary's work, which is kind of redundant, but that's the law.
Mm-hmm.
So she checks on Gary's work, she sends another report to DEP, and her questions to me as the health director and through the board is what do you have in your FAM to assure that you're going to do proper monitoring of the landfill for the next 30 years?
Right.
So I give them that number and I say it's annually budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
They've never come back and said that that's not sufficient, whatever, but it's not like we have 4 million, 10 million set aside like to do a closure of the landfill right now.
Let me ask you this, on the questions that she's asking you right now, is that specific to 90 Flint Road or 54 or both?
90.
90 Flint Road.
Yeah.
What's that dollar value?
We have about almost $400,000 we had in our engineering account to quantify what Gary has sent to us for billing. Now remember, we also pay for in there some of the town, which the selectmen have ordered some of the work for 4 Dress Hill Road, which we talked about today, and we have to. He has to send those reports in, and I did that today. There was 3 reports that were due, so we pay for that. So we had about $368,000 that was allocated, but that money is appropriated for testing of the wells at 54 and 90 Flint Road, and also for the monitoring for anyone who has filtration systems and for the annual testing that Gary does.
I was under the assumption, so, and I probably have this wrong, but I was under the assumption that a FAM was a bond or allocation of money, like it was like $1 million or $2 million, and as every year we did the test, we spent the money, it came off of that. Is that not accurate?
You're somewhat right. Like, say the town of Southbridge had a FAM that had to build up every year, and so much money was put into it. You couldn't touch it. That FAM was for a financial assurance mechanism that the landfill would be closed and monitored for a certain amount. Ours is a little different, where we're just doing the testing of the wells now, because the landfill is essentially closed, not 54, but 90. And now Gary goes in and tests the wells as mandated because there's someone within, because they have 1,4-dioxane, trichloroethylene, whatever they have. If it's within 500 feet, now Gary has to test that home. Now if there's a hit in that home. But that money, because of that third-party inspection, they specifically ask, what do you have for funding to assure that we are actually having someone monitor the landfill?
Go ahead.
As the PFAS is breaking down of chemicals over time, correct?
It basically is.
So that when you do that one testing, that's a point in time that you're measuring the level. So say it comes back negative. What is DEP's follow-up going to be? Say, all right, well, you know, it's continually breaking down, so tomorrow it could be. I mean, so what's going to be their frequency? Because I believe Gary said it's going to cost about $20,000 a round to do this testing. So that's you know, if it's not a one and done that we lay it out and we're done. So say we do it, it's negative, and DLP's, are they going to say 3 months, quarterly, yearly? I mean, what's the?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, I believe would be the hit when he does his testing, which is quarterly. That would include the PFAS testing, which is now going to become under a mandate. It's because we have a landfill,
Right.
and that's why it's associated with the landfill. That's why they can do that. But is there a mandate to test for PFAS yet? No, but yet in 90 days we need to tell them that we are going to test because we have a landfill, and I think they didn't come out and say they were going to mandate it, but yet they want us to test for PFAS at our landfill. Correct, Matt?
They definitely want us to test for that.
It wasn't, maybe you can test. No, in 90 days tell us you're testing, or 120. we want the report to come back, and then Gary would add that. That's why Gary gave me a budgetary thing that I had to present to get funding for, because that is a different, because they're very strict. If you spend something out of a line item and we get audited and it wasn't for that, we get in trouble. You have to make sure that any dollar that is spent is appropriated, and that line item is 454, 90, and it is budgeted that way.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Where there's no mandate in place, the recommendation, we do it. We lay out the 20 grand. What's to say that they don't recommend we do it in another 60 days again that we didn't account for? I'm just trying to get some structure behind what they're looking for the testing and what's their long term. I mean, because obviously it's not one and done.
And
No.
and to tack on to what you're saying, say we go, okay, we decide, yeah, let's put it in quarter 2 if that's the next quarter that they're going to test, and we spend that 20,000 or whatever that dollar value is. Okay, now it's quarterly, so now we just spent $80,000 a year of taxpayer dollars, right? If we kick the can down the road and don't test quarter 2, quarter 3, DEP mandates quarter 4, did we just save the town $40,000? That's one way to look at it. Now, Board of Health isn't really concerned about the dollar value. We're out here for public health and safety. With that being said, the very first thing we did when we found out about this PFAS was notified each and every resident within that area that we felt was in that area. And not that we felt, but we felt with engineers felt that was in that danger zone, and told them you might want to drink bottled water. There's something going on. So that alone is due diligence from this board.
And UMass was offering free testing for that period too, that people had the opportunity to partake in, that we socialized.
They did, yes, and they end up getting. I think they tried to get 40 homes, and they ended up getting like 30-something homes. There was a couple that were above, but if you were far above, that system was put in right away. But that's gone now.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question comes back to this board. Do we want to move forward with PFAS testing at this time? I guess, and the question is, A, do we have funds available that we can legally spend on it? That answer's come back as a yes. Then the next thing is, if we have PFAS, are we opening up a can of worms financially as far as potential water filtration systems, testing, and all of that? I believe that answer is yes, based on the direction of DEP saying, if this town doesn't have it, we have a golden horseshoe around us because every other town's going to have it. And are we not doing due diligence as far as public health and safety by kicking the can down the road? We have to answer that question. Do we do it now or do we do it later? And I guess, I don't know. That's a tough one for me to kind of come up with because I'm also a taxpayer. So
This is one where if Gary was here, we'd have some good input, you know? And I'm trying to recall what he said. Maybe Jim knows, maybe one of you guys know, but it's coming. DEP is going to set a date probably and say, okay, by September 1st, we want to not just have you give us a date, we want to report back on the following
So-
monitoring wells or whatever.
I mean, what if we did something like we authorized one round of testing under the recommendation and then waited till it was mandated to do subsequent testing or something along those lines, so we're not hooked on a $20,000 testing fee every quarter without it being positive or something. There's some.
and the problem with that is if we test and the PFAS comes over 20 parts per trillion, now it triggers the landfill side of it, and now we are automatically, immediately going to be on that 500-foot. So that's that's opening the door when we do that first round. If what Mary Jude Pigley says is accurate, then if we test and we have it, we're automatically going to have to continue moving forward with that program. And that was kind of what we knew beginning, and that's why we were saying financially we can't spend money that we don't have. In the meantime, we've looked into that, and it looks like we can legally spend money for that PFAS testing. We can vote on this. I think we should just test. DEP has made it crystal clear. John, you were on the call. Pete, you were on the call. They made it crystal clear that this is what they want to do. That it's not going to go PFAS or the capping of the landfill. That we're gonna be mandated to go in parallel with both line items.
Did they give a date, though? I'm trying to recall if they...
It was 90 or 120 days for Gary to respond to if we were going to do the PFAS testing or not, because he needs to submit a final submittal to DEP, and he had to do an addendum on whether or not the PFAS was going to be included in that or not. So that's what he owes DEP. If we give him a yes, we're going to test for PFAS, then I think was it Greg Roots, or there was an individual from DEP that said that he would push the capping of the landfill, approve that, and we'd be on our way with that, is my understanding of it. He was just waiting for that one submittal from Gary to say that we were going to do the PFAS testing on whatever date it was, and that he was going to approve it. He's been through it. It was on his desk. He had one or two little things to look at, but that was good to go. And it almost, that conversation almost made it like a requirement that if we didn't do the PFAS testing, that they weren't going to approve whatever he had on his desk.
That's what I took from that.
That's what I took from that as well.
So is it a way to just kind of twist our arm and start testing, you think?
Well, we can do one of two things. We can not test until it's mandated, and we can tell Mr. Roots or Ms. Pigley that the board's decided not to test PFAS at this time, and that we're going to wait for a later date. We can say that, or we could say we decided to test for PFAS. It's really up to us what we want to do.
I just don't want the town to run out of money, or not the town, but our budget. Now suddenly then we're in the red and we've got no choice but to go back and it's costing thousands or tens of thousands of dollars that are putting us further into the hole. I'd feel more comfortable, I think, if we had the monies in place, documented for the testing.
The letters went out. Did we get any feedback from any of those residents that received those letters that they're testing, and there's any results yet?
I was away, Andrew was out sick, so Kim and I were busy, but I didn't get any feedback. But I think once you sound the alarm bell with the residents, and then you don't do anything, what's the sense of urgency with the letter? That's the only thing. We have a landfill, they're gonna mandate it anyway.
Well, the sense of urgency with the letter was to eliminate the critical exposure pathway. That was this board telling them, you probably don't want to drink the water right now. And that was our best go of protecting those people. That's what that letter was all about.
Yeah.
It was telling them today, there's something in the water, we don't know anything about it, enough about it, it may or may not be there, but until we get it figured out, you might want to drink bottled water.
And I think if we have any hit of PFAS, because it's associated with a landfill, then would still have to eat 20 is a limit. It would have to do with filtration. But I think if we get any hit on one of the wells, we're still going to have to test it if anyone's in 500 feet.
That's my understanding as well.
Because I think that's what, so if you have a home and you're below 20 parts per trillion, then I think you're okay. But if you're associated with a landfill and we have a house and there's maybe below the 20 parts per trillion, we're still gonna have to test that house, so
Correct.
we're gonna,
Yes.
we're under the gun,
Oh, yeah.
either way. And they hold it, and we need to move forward on 54, because like you said, it's been a long time coming, but this board's gonna have to enter into a 310 and do a closure on it, and we need to decide how we're gonna close it. But like you said, they almost said, when you do this, then we'll push this forward, and you can make a decision on that. I think they're gonna come hard and fast, meaning DEP with PFAS, with anyone associated with a landfill, or anyone that testing is gonna be mandated, so.
So, I like what John had to say as far as not kicking the can down the road forever, but he puts a finite date on it. Maybe we kick the can down the road one more quarter till the town financially has funding and we're more prepared for that. I still think that's reasonable. I know it's not maybe what DEP wants to hear, but I do think it gives a deadline for them and a date, and I think that was a good idea.
That was my concern, Mr. Chairman, at the meeting, was that they're mandating something that you have to give the municipality time to find appropriate funding for. This isn't cheap, like Gary said, it's one of the most expensive tests. And if you're gonna mandate it, and luckily we did have some little bit extra, but still we're spending taxpayer money, and you always wanna put in for that and make sure that people understand that this is not something that the Board of Health just chose to do. This is something that's mandated by the DEP because of our landfill.
So, at this time, meaning tonight's meeting, if we're not going to vote to do the PFAS immediately, we're not doing anything. We don't need to take a vote. We don't really need to do anything. Maybe table the conversation, but maybe, and maybe that's what we do, is we table this for our next meeting. I know Gary's looking for an answer what we're gonna do, and maybe at that time we voiced a concern on, hey, we wanna make sure we got enough funding. That's not gonna happen until fiscal year starts, July 1st. And, let's maybe get one more input from Gary to make sure that we're not really jeopardizing the town or putting us in non-compliance anywhere or doing something we're not supposed to do. So I think we should table it, but I do think that we needed to talk about it to just be continuing to think about our move on that. So, Pete, do you have any more thoughts on that? Or?
Yeah, and I agree. And as this becomes a bigger issue with DEP and EPA, there might be some federal grant money that comes available for testing too. So I mean, we can act now and pay for ourselves, or wait till it becomes a hot issue and some funds become available too. So
I know
I
Andrew's
can't forecast.
always looking for funding,
Right.
and I'm always looking for funding, so certainly we'll keep, like you said, there's a lot of money being thrown around the state lately. This department being, we have $500,000 grants per year for the next 7 years, so they extended the COVID nursing for another year. So they'll be still on board, but there was only one case in 3 towns, so.
Do we have any of the contacts from the UMass group that did the testings and see if they would be interested in doing sampling around the landfills? I mean, I don't know what their research study entails, but
I don't, because I stayed out of it,
yeah.
and I didn't have anything to do with it. And they asked if we wanted to get involved. I spoke to
Right.
Matt, and we said that whatever they decide to do, they're going to do. But I was not. So I don't know. I could ask Mary Jude, but I just don't know. I think that program ended. It was funded through a grant, and it's done.
Right, that one's done, but like Pete said, maybe
You're right. There's always
a new one.
something else that comes forward. I mean, well, the state knows that a lot of these towns can't afford to start doing PFAS testing without proper funding, and in some towns it's devastating. If to $100,000 to a small town and they get a PFAS hit is a lot of money to them. It's a lot of money to anybody.
It's a lot of money. So, if there's no other discussion, does someone want to make a motion to table this till our next meeting then?
I'll make a motion that we table it till next meeting, and also I'd like to request if Gary could be here, and if for some reason he can't, at least get some input from him. I'd feel a heck of a lot better if we had up-to-date information and his input so we could make a real informed decision and then just move forward at that point.
Yep.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just so you know, Gary was actually going to come to this meeting tonight,
Okay.
and he had another meeting, and he called and said, listen, you guys got first dibs. If you want me, I'll cancel the other meeting. If you don't really need me, I do have somewhere else I could be. He left it without peer pressure, and I said, no, go ahead, Gary, we're all set.
Okay.
So I excused him from coming from this meeting, but I didn't really feel we needed him, but I do agree with you. Now that we know the proper question to ask and the time sensitivity to it, we'll see if we can get him here for the next meeting.
Perfect. Great, thank you.
Yep. Let's move on to department head reports.
All right, I know it's, I'll try and keep it as short as I can. As you know, Brianna Dunn has resigned. We did post one position, but we did not repost that other position because we have to meet with the coalition to decide where we're going to go forward, because I just spent my time training someone who just basically decided they didn't want to work anymore. So shouldn't show up, but we wish her the best. We did receive our new vehicle for the Board of Health. We have a new electric EV Ford van that I've been asking for, and Andrew was gracious enough to keep that in the budget. And because it's an electric vehicle, we did get a lot of money back, $7,900, I believe, in a refund. The problem is that we have no way to charge it. The charger out front doesn't work, and the ones that I went to Treehouse, because they have a lot of Teslas, that plug doesn't work. So I'm afraid to drive the van because the battery's going to die. And it's so cold that the battery's slowly going down without it moving. It's recommended to always be plugged in. So Andrew's working on getting a plug that in the back so we can keep it plugged in. But it's a beautiful van. I'm going to try and get someone I know who works for the town to, we're going to purchase a refrigerator. We can get it through FEP, and so we can put our vaccinations, and if someone's homebound and stuff, we can actually go to their house with one of our nurses and work, and with a paramedic that would come along with us. And
Put that, sorry, in the van?
in the van, yeah. So we actually have a nurse's station set up, and we'll be able to put all our supplies in there. Like we are constantly, I have trailers full of supplies that we have to get to if we're doing an EDS setup drill. The van is big, it's tall, I can actually almost stand up in it. It's it's nice.
You need to get racks for all that and stuff, van racks?
Well, actually, we're gonna some of them came already redone, but that's another $60,000-$70,000 that we could probably get someone to do, and do it for a lot less. So I'm trying to do for grant money is to redo the van in the back. It would have a bench seat. It would have a swivel seat. I'm trying to get one of those that they usually have in an ambulance, but would be a nurse's station with a refrigerator that's approved, that we can make sure that the temperature's always, because when we put medications, do flu clinics, they would have them in there. Or we could go to businesses in Charlton if someone decided they wanted. It's just going to be more like a mobile vaccination unit, but it's also an inspectional vehicle that we can use, because Kim's been using her own vehicle. I use my own. They could try and compensate me for mine, but Kim was concerned we have to pay her for her mileage. Is that to have someone in a vehicle like another person, if you get in an accident, who's responsible?
Right.
So there's always that. But the EV is out back. It's I know it's. I've been trying to shovel it off today and get all the ice off, but until we can find I will need to get it lettered. I hope the board would come up with some ideas, but soon that would be the Charlton Board of Health inspectional vehicle and mobile vaccination unit maybe, and get the Charlton seal on it, because it needs to be lettered. The plates I put on, it's registered, it's ready to go on the road. Sure. So, but I thank Andrew and the town. This has been a long time since this department. We used to drive around in a junk pickup truck that was about 30 years old, and but this is something that's really going to be noticeable when we go places, and having nurses and stuff. Charlton will be able to. There's a lot of homebound people that were asking, and we would send an ambulance down, but now our nurse could come with us, go in there, and we would be able to. Dr. Devine signs off on our paperwork, so we can receive all these medications to go. And especially, you never know what happens. At least we were prepared, and the van would be set up where we wouldn't have to go to a school and take over the school, because you can actually set up, we have all kinds of pop-up tents that we can put on the side of it. In one area, we don't let the area have a staging area, so it's just an idea I had, and I think hopefully it'll work out.
As far as the lettering of the van,
Yep.
I have no comment. So my opinion from me is do whatever you want. I don't really care. What you said is fine. Letter it Charlton Board of Health with the town emblem on it. It's good with me. I don't know if
I'd like it to be visible that there's a Charlton seal and it's a Charlton Board of Health. And finally, we have a vehicle out there that's noticeable if we go to another town to assist, that they know it's Charlton's vehicle.
So it sounds to me, Jim, like you can drive the ship on that one.
Okay.
This board's okay with your decision on that.
I appreciate it. And now, having the Charlton Coalition for Public Health, we will be hiring 2 more people, and we need to, I don't know, maybe I'll put this seal somewhere as small, but I don't think, except for the next 7 years, we'll be having someone. But this is the one that people like the most. What does the board think of this for our new shirts and stuff like that, vest, and for our new people? It shows a picture of each town, and it doesn't just come out and just say Charlton, because they will be working for 5 municipalities. Charlton's the core, but it's a Charlton Coalition for Public Health, but it just shows each town as far as the shape. What do you think about it?
I like it. To be honest with you, I think the students all did a very good job, and I kind of like them all. And if you ask me, if that's the one you like, I'm not going to disagree with it.
I didn't want to move forward. Yeah, I showed it to Andrew. He likes it. He said, but let the board see it. And Bay Pass waiting Wednesday and I would like to go up there and honor their student and buy him a brand new Bay Path sweatshirt or something that he may want out of the shop or something for doing a good job.
Or a CCPH sweatshirt, you know?
I'll give him one later.
Okay.
But I just think,
Yeah, okay.
personally, I'll do that for the person that did this. I think that
Can you write a little letter
Approved.
from this board?
absolutely
give them that
thanking
and
them and
present them
thanking
with
the teacher. She was she stepped up, and the kids were excited to do it, actually. They wanted to. And they all jumped right on it.
So I wouldn't mind if we wrote a little letter congratulating this individual and the group as a whole for their efforts, because I thought it was pretty cool. So
I did too. I mean, we have such a good school at Bay Path Vocational. You go in there, it's a beautiful school. The kids are motivated. They're willing to move forward, and I just, it's probably one of, if not the best vocational school, high school, I think.
yeah.
It's awesome in there. Everything is perfect. But if it's okay, I told her I'd call on Wednesday if the board approved this, and this is what we do, and I would go up there.
Check.
Check.
Yep.
Like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Other than that, I'm just, I did tell you about the problems I'm having with eye health. I am going to call Sam Wong to see if he'll replace the ones that, there's a recall. It didn't come from Mass, it came from North Carolina, and I checked the lot number, and no lines are coming up. So everyone that's taken them saying, hey, no lines are coming up, what's wrong with them? So I tested myself at my own demise, and all the girls volunteered, and we tested ourselves 5 or 6 times, nothing came up. We did find a different lot number, so it's the lot number. So we're going to go through them all, keep the ones that are right lot number, and I'm going to call Sam Wong. What do you want me to do with these, first of all, and can you send us some more if we need them? At some point, testing is going to stop anyway, but a lot of people are taking the kids to college now, and you can't take your kid to college, and you have to do it. You have to do a test in front of them, and it can be one of these eye health tests. So there is a need for them.
Yeah. So, like you said, we can't just go throwing out the old ones. We need to get direction on what to do.
Yeah,
with the old ones.
I will call Sam Wong and get direction, because they were given to us by the Department of Public Health as a grant, and they have a stockpile of more. Maybe that lot number, that we can get a different lot number that works. These are pre-filled, and I find the pre-filled ones are the ones that are not working. The ones that you took your own saline and syringe and filled it yourself are still good. The ones that are pre-filled seem to be the ones that are not working. But someone said something that we had them in the sun out here where the paper dried them out. So I took some fresh out of the box that were in Andrew's office and here. It didn't matter. It was the lot number.
Okay.
So, but other than that, everything's working good. The girls, like I said, we have 2 of the best girls working. It shows that they're very knowledgeable, moving. Kim's doing great. We do have the inspectional system on a computer now, so when I do a housing or a food inspection, it's on the computer, It's done right then and there. It's very organized. We have online permitting now in the office, which is slow. A lot of people in Charlton are like, I don't want to get on a computer, all I have is a phone. But the girls are very patient with people and walking through it, and they can pay with a credit card finally online to apply. We have 120 food trucks at Treehouse, so it's a lot easier for them to process that through there. So.
And when you do an inspectional service, at this point, are you sharing that with other departments? Or does that stay within this department?
That inspection report stays in this department. At some point, we can download them and give them to the state. If the person that is working is part of this coalition, that would go over to them. But it's freedom of information anyway. And the system we had to pay for was very expensive, but we did it through a grant. We have all the tablets to work, and they're great. We just did Overlook. The problem with Overlook, there's 3 separate kitchens. There were numerous violations that had to be written. So when you're new on it, it does take time because you've got to find the certain area of the code violation. Click on that, it pops up as a violation. It gives them a time frame, and then you take a picture. It's awesome. It does take a while, and some people are intimidated by it, but it's new technology. It's the best way to be consistent in inspectional services, to know that if I don't go out and someone else does, that they're doing the same thing that I would do, because I can see it. Because I have administration, I can get right in and watch it.
Okay. Good.
But that's about what I have for now. So
All right, thank you. So I guess we're gonna
Determine next meeting?
determine the next meeting. Just for the next meeting, while I'm looking at it, so we can now take off the hearing,
Mass Pike.
and Tim is done. Just the reoccurring. We could take Mass Pike West off of the agenda for a while. But if you do go up there, you can look around all you want.
Matt, can we leave the Leominster Coalition? Because I'm going to talk to you about the one day, so if it's on here, at least I can bring it up at the next meeting, and we can talk about what she has brought and what she said about the Sunday, and I can inform the board. I'll let you know ahead of time as a chair.
Okay.
But if you leave that on there, at least I can tell that we'd like and expect some improvements. Can you make some changes? Or she may not be able to. So,
Right.
at the request of our, concerned, store owners, they've expressed something that the board, to the board, maybe I can express to her that if she could do these 2 things and identify right away without causing a rift or whatever, is that possible? So there's no delay, and that was a concern of this board.
Okay, and then, so we'll keep that Leominster Coalition on. Next meeting, we want to go 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Where are we now? Basically February 28th?
Yeah.
We're
So-
March 1st tomorrow.
So, the end of March, 4 weeks? Do we have time sensitivity with the landfill with Gary's letter?
I think we have enough time to, but I'll talk to Gary. I'm sure Gary will, but he did have some time-sensitive stuff today that I took care of. The EDP filing for 4 Dressdale Hill Road, that should go away soon. He's trying to get that to go away, but that has to be filed, so I did that today. There was 3 reports that I approved and sent forward.
Okay.
But also, I will be in the schools all day tomorrow doing school inspections, so Kim and I will be quite busy for the next couple of days.
Okay.
So
What's 4 weeks look like on the calendar?
3/21,
You good with that?
Is that-
March 21st.
That's 3 weeks.
Is that what you said?
3 or 4
weeks?
Oh, 4 weeks would be 28th.
March 28th. My granddaughter's birthdays.
Going out to eat?
I don't know.
Who knows?
They'll probably want me to cook out burgers for them
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, no, that should be okay.
You'll be all right with that?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
Okay.
It's a school night, so.
So let's tentatively set it up for 3/28, 6 PM. If there's no other discussion, someone want to make a motion?
We'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting from February 28th.
What do you got for time?
7:23.
Close enough, 7:23, yeah.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it.
Thank you, Drew.